What's up, guys? Welcome to the latest edition of Terrible Towel Tuesday. I am your host, Sim Football Critic, and y'all know how we're gonna do, man. We're gonna wait for a few of you guys to get up in here. I'm gonna shoot the link out to a few important folks, and we'll get it started, man. Not a whole lot to talk about, but at the same time, there's a lot to talk about, so we're about to get into that thing. Give me just a second. I want to welcome all of you guys who are currently here. Appreciate you guys coming through, man, and it's good to see you guys once again. Even though we are not in the playoffs, we're not in the postseason, so there's not a lot for us to discuss and talk about. But give me just a moment, guys, and we will get this thing underway. We'll get her cracking. Let me shoot this link out to a few people, and we will get her started. But how's everybody doing so far tonight, man? I hope you guys are doing well. Happy to see everybody who will be coming in here tonight. What up, Obi-Wan, excuse me. Get my brother Tony up in here, and I'm going to send a message as well to my cousin Floyd. And then we'll get it cracking, man. We'll do a light roll call. You know, I know it may be a little slower this time of the year, you know, being that we're sitting at home. So we'll wait to get some of you guys in here, and we'll get it cracking. So really quick. Like I said, a very light roll call. We don't have a ton of people in here right now, but I'm sure you guys will pick it up and pick up the slack here in a moment. So do me a favor, guys. Make sure you hit that like button. First and foremost, hit that like button. Share the stream. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. All that jazz. And we're about to have at it, man. So let me share this out one more time, guys, and we'll get it cracking. All right, so we're ready to roll. So first and foremost, we're going to do a quick roll call. I already said what's up to Obi-Wan, Fizz Up, Christian Gonzalez, Devious or Duvious, Crazy Dean, Eli, Robert Westover, Rail Facts, what up, Rail? More AGWS, Kelvin Colbert, King Guru Lee, Lance and Shield, Champagne Poppy, Yinzer Mob, Kenyon Wright, my brother Kenyon, Matt Wilkinson, and Eli Coolin. What's up, everybody? So let's go ahead and get it going. You guys says, man, I was watching Mac Wilson in the bowl game. Dude is all bark and no bite. Yeah, that bowl game was interesting, man. So let's go ahead and get into it, guys. I don't want to hold you guys too long. I'm on a tight schedule tonight, man. I got, you know, furniture I have to help Leonard move. I got to walk on over there once I'm done with the Terrible Towel Tuesday. So, guys, you know, remember I always say it, but tonight we're definitely going to stick to that 30-minute time frame. So let me stop yapping and let's get to the action. So first thing I want to do, hate to be a little petty, because I normally don't do this. You guys, let me tilt the brim a little bit. You guys know I normally don't do this, because this is the reason why I don't talk smack, I don't talk trash. But I would like to welcome all of the Raven fans in here tonight, because you guys remember last week, there was one in particular that was just barking, you know, picking at us and poking fun and blah, blah, blah. And I said, listen, man, y'all better take care of business against those Chargers. I said that the Chargers, the worst thing that could have happened to the Ravens was that the Chargers played them 2 weeks in advance. Before that, they got punch drunk by the run game, caught them off guard, just like the Ravens had been doing with everyone else. But they had time to prepare. And what happened? What happened? For the most part of that game, the Chargers shut down the run, and they did it with 3 safeties on the field, 7 DBs. That was crazy. That was crazy to me. They did it with 3 safeties on the field. They went with more of a speedy approach. Good scheme right there. You know, they figured maybe we'll be able to let our big guys up front clamp that down, but we're going to get some speed guys out there in case, you know, Jackson is able to break it, you know, around the edge or what have you, and it worked. And for the good majority of that game, they shut down Jackson. Jackson did rebound later, but the Ravens lost. So I want to see you guys have that same energy that was in here last week, poking fun at us because we were at home and you guys got the division, but now look where you're at. It don't matter unless you win the ring. Okay? So that's all I'm going to say. And this is why I don't talk trash back and forth, because I don't play on the team. I have no control over how my team is going to show up. All I can do is root for my squad and hope they beat teams and beat rivals. But that's why I don't poke fun at nobody else, because now the joke is on you guys. So there you have it. So anyway, yeah, like Kenya just said, 3 safeties. Yeah, Lamar, go ahead and throw it. We dare you to throw it. Great scheme, and it worked. And let me say this to the Raven fans real quick too. Why y'all boo that man? Why y'all start booing the dude, man? Then he kept you in the game late. Fickle fans, man. Fickle fans drive me crazy, man, regardless of what the team is. They booing Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson comes in there, turns the season around, regardless of how he got it done. Because of his presence and because of the way the boy could run the football and the way he was able to pick up on the read option game that they basically changed in his favor. Ravens go on a win streak. Ravens get into the playoffs. But then y'all booing him because he not playing that well during the game and they call him for Flacco. Y'all need to stop. Y'all need to cut that out. But anyway, enough with the Ravens. Let's get into the Steelers talk. All right, man. So since the last time we talked, man, I have to apologize to you guys. I got to apologize. And the reason why I have to apologize is I continue to tell you guys I'm going to do a special show during the week, more pregame and blah, blah, blah. And I haven't been able to deliver that. And it's only because I just haven't made the time to do it. I promise I'll get better with that. But right now, bear with me, guys. And just assume you're going to see me on Tuesday. And we'll assume anything else will just be a pop-up show. All right, because I don't want to keep promising you guys something and it doesn't happen. I don't want to be that guy. So one thing you can count on is Tuesdays, and then I may pop up with another special stream during the week if some news breaks that we have to talk about. So that brings me to my point. The reason why I wanted to wait until the full week before I came in and talked about all of this stuff, because I knew there would be more things that we would find out about the Antonio Brown situation. I thought there may be a chance of some movement with coaching, etc., etc. We've seen a little bit, but we haven't seen it all. So let's talk really, really quick about the coaches. We'll get into Antonio Brown. I'll talk a little bit about whether or not I think there'll be more changes. Then I'll visit the chat. Then we'll be out of here. Y'all cool with that? All right, so like I said, and what's up, father-in-law Leonard? Like I just told you guys, I got to run over to Leonard's. Literally, I mean, I could see his house from my backyard. We're in the same neighborhood. I got to run over there after we're done here, help him move some furniture. And, yeah, so we got to keep a tight ship tonight. So anyway, Joey Porter. So they advised Joey Porter that they would not be renewing his contract. Okay, I'm kind of on board with that. I love Joey Porter as a player. Y'all always hear me talk about we don't have a dog on our squad. Boy, would we love to have a dog like Joey Porter right now as far as that mentality and, that the attitude that he brought to the defense. We don't have that guy right now, at least not verbally, and a guy that his verbal talk and his game matches up. TJ Watt is probably our best dog in terms of actual play right now. I'll give Cam Hayward the dog status as well, more of a silent giant, but those guys don't have that attitude that you can see jump off of the field. Of course, they probably do it internally, but when I'm talking about a dog, I'm talking about how Joey Porter used to get up in your face, get up on the Ravens bus, and all that type of guy. We don't have that dog. We don't have Jalen Ramsey on our squad, that kind of mentality. You know what I'm saying? We don't have the Ray Lewises of the world. And we are missing that. We need that dog. We need another guy to emerge as a dog and bring some swag and attitude. That's why I agree with Leonard when he said, man, DJ Swearinger, I wonder if the Steelers could have got him. If we could have got him, whether you like the kid as a player or not, I think he had a great season with the Redskins before they let him go. But that attitude, we need that on our team right now, especially with the young guys. But anyway, we love Joey Porter as a player, man, but, we could all say, should he have been a coach? I don't know. Should he have been a coach? I don't know. Not all great players are coaches, and I see a lot of people campaigning. They wanted Hines Ward to be the receivers coach and all of that. Listen, just because Hines Ward was a great Steeler doesn't mean he was going to be an outstanding coach and teacher. It just doesn't translate all the time. It doesn't always translate. A lot of the best coaches in the world that we've seen are dudes who didn't even make it to the NFL. Bill Belichick didn't play in the NFL. So that's not always the case because you have to be able to manage people, and we're going to get to that when we talk about Tomlin. You got to be able to do that more so than just, you know, being the football expert as well. It's so many different hats you have to wear as a head coach. So even as a position coach, maybe Joey Porter just, you know, guys haven't excelled under his tutelage. He's the outside linebackers coach. We haven't seen anybody really excel. The best talent that we've had in the last recent years has been TJ Watt. And I think that's mostly him. You know, unfortunately, Bud Dupree has not developed a secondary move, if you will. We all know what happened with Jarvis Jones, and I mean, do I have to say more? So, I'm not mad at that. Now, let's just remember, he didn't get fired. They just didn't renew his contract. Same thing that happened with Todd Haley. I know we tried to throw the fire tag out there, but they just didn't renew Todd Haley. This one surprised me. Saxon. They're not going to renew Saxon's contract. This is that running back coach. I didn't see that coming. I don't know what that's all about. I'm not going to say that Saxon did anything bad because obviously we've had, in my opinion, running backs haven't been the problem per se in terms of development. So maybe this is a sign, guys, that there are going to be some big changes. I don't think it necessarily has anything to do with his tutelage, but I didn't see that coming, especially being the second name as far as the coaching staff. I thought we would see some other names before now. Which brings me to my next point. Will we see any more changes this week? You know, I won't say that this week is the final. You know, it has to be done this week, but you would think, you know, as the changes are coming out, it's going to come out relatively sooner than later. I know last year we did some, you know, made some more noise in February, but you got to remember, you know, we played longer into the season last year, deeper into the playoffs, even though we got swept and knocked out of there in our first, you know, divisional game there, and we had to bye. But still, you would expect that now that we're seeing a couple changes, we're going to hear about a few more. I would think sometime this week. Okay, now speaking of that, another change that we may have to go with, Mike Munchak is more than likely going to take the position in Denver. You know, they've said that he has his daughters out there, and they said he is showing a little bit of interest. He didn't, you know, show any interest in the Miami Dolphins head coaching vacancy, but it's very possible that Munchak might have the itch again, and it makes sense for him to be out in Denver, especially if he has family there. We may lose him, but, you know, we do have the understudy there for the guy's name. Slips my mind now. Sean something, I think it is. Sean Surratt or Verrett, something like that. His understudy is there, so we might be okay there, but I hate to lose a Mike Munchak. Now, let's talk about who else we need to see go. Obviously, we all want to see Keith Butler go. I think it's time for us to move on from Keith Butler. I don't know where he is in terms of contract. I don't know if his contract is over, and if it's going to be a situation where we're not extending his contract, or if it will be an actual situation where he's fired. I don't like to call for anybody's job, but I think the Keith Butler tenure is probably run its course. I think it's time to go in another direction. However, I don't know if it will happen. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Again, I'll keep it short and sweet. We know the story and the history with Butler and the Steelers and how that whole thing went down when LeBeau was there and how it transpired. So I know we always want to look at the head coach, but believe you me, the head coach is not fully responsible. Not even going to say responsible. He's not fully hands-on in terms of deciding who goes and stays. I'm sure he has input. Obviously, it's his staff. But knowing the Butler history, let's not act as if a Kevin Colbert, or even more importantly, a Rooney might prefer him to stay on the staff. And if he comes out and says that behind the scenes, then obviously he'll still be on the staff. So yes, Mike Tomlin, I'm sure, has a huge influence on it, but I don't believe he has the final say in that regard. Excuse me. So we never know what's going to happen with Butler. I'm hoping we're going to see more changes this week. Okay, I think you keep Carl Dunbar. You know, he only played a year. Only coached a year. I don't think we can say that, you know, we can judge what happened in a year. I think the defensive line did relatively decent based on, you know, the guys we had there. Probably keep maybe Bradley as well. You know, again, a one-year trial might not be enough to say if a guy's good or bad, because you still have to consider coaching and players being an issue. But I definitely want to see a change on the defensive side, particularly starting right there at D coordinator. we'll see what happens. All right. Yeah, and I see a couple of you guys saying maybe Danny Smith needs to go as well. You know, to me, that's hit or miss. You know, again, I don't know if it's all Danny Smith's fault, because while we say that, we have seen a good uptick in block kicks, you know, block field goals and block punts. The last 2 years here, we've seen that. You know, we opened the season with a block punt last year against Cleveland, and we had a couple more this year and a field goal block, a couple field goal blocks. So I don't know if it's all Danny Smith, even though we got to look at the other side of things. Guys not being lined up right sometimes, giving us a penalty in special team situations, and we're not really seeing a huge pop from the return game. You know, and I don't know if we can utilize that whole it ain't the scheme, because, listen, Ryan Switzer is a capable return guy. It might be the scheme. I don't know. I don't look at special teams that detailed in terms of that. But I wouldn't be upset if Danny Smith left, but I don't know if Danny Smith is the full problem. So let's move on to the Antonio Brown situation, man. And I'm moving right along, doing good with my time here. Will we see big changes in this offseason? And that includes coaching and players, and we got to stick right there with Antonio Brown. So we know a little more now. It's still, a lot of stuff is still speculation, but I think we're starting to see what we could say is probably true, is that Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown don't have the best relationship. They can work together, but I don't think the relationship is what we thought it was. Only because if you hear smoke coming out of Antonio Brown's way and you hear smoke coming out of Roethlisberger's way, and you read the little, you know, telltale signs, they don't have the best relationship. However, I will say this as well. The Steelers have a huge problem, man, when your best players aren't the greatest leaders. We can all say that Antonio Brown might not be the best leader, only from this standpoint. Some of the antics, that's not leading by example. The Facebook Live situation, that right there. I mean, that clearly shows you that your coach is giving a spiel about not being on social media and you Facebook Live. Even if you even if you are making bread with Facebook, that won't the time. Leaders don't do that. Larry Fitzgerald would have never done that. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to denigrate. I'm definitely not trying to knock Antonio Brown as a person. Listen, he is who he is. He's 30 years old. He is who he is. I'm not going to knock him. You know, he's a young man that has millions of dollars. And let's be real, very real with you guys right now, so you guys can understand where I'm coming from. He's a young, fairly young African-American male, you know, that comes from a poverty-ridden background, you know, didn't have a lot of money growing up. The dude is from Liberty City in Miami. You know, that it ain't pretty out there, right? So there's going to be a certain degree, and I'm not trying to say that this applies to everybody, but trust me, I've grown up and I've been in environments where I see this type of thing. Some people are just going to be who they are. And sometimes it ain't always their fault. They could be products of their environment. However, when you get of a certain age and of a certain, you know, age, I mean, that's the best word I can say. When you get a certain age, you should know how to be a better acting person, regardless of your background. I can't use that as an excuse. I'm just saying, he might be who he is, but at 30 years old, you know what you need to do at your profession to be a professional. And I don't think Antonio Brown has always displayed that off the field. On the field, I love the guy, but we've even seen sometimes on the field where he's moping or pouting or... Let's get to Ben Roethlisberger. Again, not the best leader. Okay? Let's just keep it with one that we all know about. Very passive-aggressive. A lot of times he throws people under the bus and then tries to clean it up. That's Ben Roethlisberger. We've heard from other players that's played with Roethlisberger, Ryan Clark, and I'm going to get to Ryan Clark in a second. He even said things about Roethlisberger. He said, look, you know, there were times that they had to have conversations, meaning him, the players, and the team with Roethlisberger in his earlier years because he wasn't the best leader. I think anybody with two eyes can see that. You know, he's a great player. You know, he does a great job. He fits well in the Pittsburgh Steelers and what he does. I like Roethlisberger on the field. He does make some bonehead decisions at times. He did lead the league in interceptions this year, and then ironically, he threw for the most yards he's ever thrown. Those two, you know, they don't weigh out. But even with that said, I think we still can win with him. You look around the league, some of these young guys are emerging, but look at the veteran guys are right there. Look at what Drew Brees is doing. So I still like the chances of the Steelers being able to possibly win with Roethlisberger, with better defense. So I'm still going to ride that train until his era is over. But he's not the best leader, guys. He's not. The behavior he exudes sometimes is not the best. And it is what it is, and that is a huge problem in our organization. And let's talk about the head man. I'm going to be honest with you, man. I feel a little bad for Mike Tomlin. And outside of the coaching things, that we could talk about management and challenges, here's the problem that he has right now. So you hear Ryan Clark say that, listen, Mike Tomlin, the way he likes to run his ship is he allows everybody to be a man and be an individual. He's not a micromanager. He allows you to be an adult and be a professional. He then said that Antonio Brown is not mature enough to deal with that type of leeway, which he should. You should be a professional. Whether you can agree, right or wrong, you don't have to agree with Tomlin's approach. You may prefer more of a Bill Belichick approach, whatever. That's not what I'm challenging here. But here's the problem. Because Tomlin has done that, now it's kind of exploded, right? And now you're at the worst end of it, of allowing Antonio Brown to get away with a lot of things, giving him a smack on the wrist, not really punishing him, and now you're seeing it all blow up. And now he's backed in the corner. Now what do you do? Okay? What do you do now? Because before I even go forward, let me throw something else at you guys, and let's see how you guys respond to this. AFC Championship game against the New England Patriots a few years back, right? The Facebook Live situation happens. Now, for those of you out there saying that Mike Tomlin needs to discipline players more and da-da-da-da, I agree. And I think, I'm going to give credit to Tomlin for saying that in his, post, his end, I guess you call it year-end wrap-up conference, last week to end the season. I like the fact that he took accountability and he said, listen, in so many words, to continue doing things the way you have been and expecting different results, that would be crazy. There are going to be changes. And I think he was talking about philosophy, coaching, and the way he approaches the players. I think he realizes now that he's going to have to keep a tighter ship because Antonio Brown and other players in the past, I'm not just going to pick on AB, have allowed this thing to blow up in his face. He tried to give you leeway, and now he knows he's going to have to tighten and hunker down and be more strict. However, here's the problem. So go back to what I just said a little while ago. What if he would have sat down Antonio Brown for the AFC Championship game? Be honest with yourselves. I want an honest answer. How many of you guys would have been okay with that? Honestly. How many of you all would have been cheering that decision because Antonio Brown deserved to be punished? Right? And let's say we go to New England and we lose, same way we did. Most people would have then said Antonio Brown would have made the difference. The same way we said, man, Le'Veon Bell got hurt. He would have made a difference. So just imagine that. Imagine going back then and Tomlin says, I didn't like him doing that video. We're going to punish him. He's not playing an AFC Championship game. Good and well, some of you guys would have been ready to rip that man's head off. So I say all that to say this. As a coach, you have to choose your approach. And unfortunately, Mike Tomlin's approach has caught up to him now. Excuse me. And I'm not knocking him for it. I'm just saying. Now he's got to own up to it because you have a player or two that has made this thing blow up. You got other players in the locker room that it ain't no big deal. But you got a couple players in your tenure that's made this thing blow up. So now you're going to have to manage things a different way. But it's a tough situation for the coach. Nobody who's going. There's no right and wrong there, because as many people who might say No. You got to punish him and treat him equal. Yeah, I agree with that. It would be the same amount of people saying, no, you can't not play him. Remember when he said that himself in a press conference? I mean, what do you guys want me to do? Not play him? And guys, you have to really listen to Mike Tomlin when he talks. You got to use your third eye and your third ear. Read between the lines. A lot of this stuff is not just him. You know what I'm saying? But we'll save that for another time. But at the end of the day, he's in a tough spot right now, and I think going forward, this is just my opinion. Some of y'all might not like this, and then I'm going to get to the chat for a few minutes, and then we'll be out of here. I think we got to move on from AB, man. Here's the reason why, and I'll explain this. How do you fix it? Because it's human nature for other players in the locker room to be like, man, you gonna let him get away with that? Antonio Brown quit on the team. Let's call it what it was. I don't think it was an injury thing, especially after hearing what Mike Tomlin had to say, as it got to a point where he reached out to Brown. The Rooney, I always say Roonies, but Art Rooney reached out to him. Other members of the team reached out to him, no answer. Then his agent calls and says, okay, my guy's feeling better, he's ready to play. Come on. And Tomlin, I got to give him credit. Let's give him a round of applause really quick. I got to give him a round of applause. With the underlining point that people are missing is Tomlin sat him down in a game that mattered. He told his, Drew Rosenhaus, nah, it don't work like that. He won't dress. He could be there to support his team in a game that it was a must win. So I'm actually glad he did that. Maybe he's reached his brink and he's like, look, we can't do this no more. I've let it slide too much. I'll take accountability for making it messy like it is now because I've let you get away with too much. But this time, it ain't happening. And he sat him down in a must-win game. Of course, we needed help to get in the playoffs. Didn't happen. But still, that was a must-win. So he took a stand right there. But anyway, just to wrap this up, I think you got to move on because I don't know how you fix it, man. It's human nature that other players are going to start saying, man, dude can get away with anything. And you start losing the respect. And I'm not going to say the personal respect for the coach, but you start losing that professional respect as far as all of us being treated equally. And I think as a coach, again, listen, Tomlin's approach is a great one. And I don't disagree with it. But I do think you have to treat everybody the same way. If it was me, I probably have to make an example out of my best guy because I got to allow everyone else to see. You know what I'm saying? I can't give, the preferable treatment all the time to only this one guy or this guy or that guy. It's got to be fair across the board. So I think that should be the best approach going forward. I say still, run the ship the way he runs it. But when it comes down to discipline, regardless of who the player is, they have to be penalized. And it has to be an example so the rest of the locker room know, whoa, wow, if you sat him down, I know I can't do nothing. I got to be on my P's and Q's. So those are my quick thoughts, man. Let me take a look and see what you guys got to say here. And I'll give you guys about 4 or 5 minutes, man, and then we'll be up out of here. What's up, Debbie? Debbie agrees with me. She says exactly. Yeah, man, it's come on, man. Listen, I love AB, and by no way, shape, or form am I sitting here saying that we'll be better without him. I mean, the dude is arguably still the best receiver in the game. I mean, he had a fantastic season. But you just can't have that type of attitude in the locker room, man. I mean, because now little stuff is sprinkling out saying that, he didn't like the fact that he wasn't the MVP. And come on, man. You got to be a team player. Big Dro says, he's replying to Debbie. He says, I might be wrong, but I think if we cut him after June 1st, then we recoup 15 of the 20 million. Nah. The way it works, man, basically how it's going to work out right now is AB is going to count 22 million towards the cap if he's on the team and basically 21 if he's not. So the Steelers actually gained $1 million in cap space. So it leads me to believe that a trade might be on the table, because it's not going to kill your money, because he's going to count $22 million against the cap anyway. So that's why I think we might see a trade happen. And I think if they can at least get a first, which I think they would, and a second or a third, you might see it happen. You might see it happen, and you got to do what you got to do. Santiago Monleon says we should trade him for a good defensive player. Yeah, we got to consider, man, who's going to take the trade. We always got to remember that, guys. Is as much as we're campaigning it, I know there's some teams lined up, but we have to consider what the teams are wanting to trade for him, and probably going to be picks, because you got to start thinking what defensive players are equal value. I'm thinking we got to get at least a number 1 pick and another guy. And if we're talking player for player, who's that guy going to be? I mean, you talking, it got to be like a Khalil Mack type of guy. And I don't think a team is doing that. Excuse me. But we'll see. Tony says it's going to be interesting who they choose to be the defensive coordinator. If Kevin Green can get axed, he might be in line for the linebackers coach. Absolutely right, man. I think Kevin Green is with the Jets right now. You would assume with the new staff, it's very possible that, that guy's going to bring his own guys with him. If Kevin Green is out there, Pittsburgh, go get him. You should have got him the first time. Black Hawk says it's time for him to go. Don't need the young guys being affected by his actions. And I heard Porter was causing division in the locker room. Yeah, appreciate that, Black Hawk, for reminding me of that. I heard that too. See, again, a lot of this stuff is hearsay, but let me throw it to y'all like this, just to switch gears really, really quick. How many of you guys saw that R. Kelly doc? Listen, a lot of that is hearsay too, but it just seems like a lot of it is adding up. So I only say that to say this. We don't know the full extent, but there's enough smoke being created. We know there's something. There's something. With the Porter situation and the division in the locker room and AB and how you heard what Ryan Clark said, how they almost came to blows back in the day after he got. I mean, it's where there's smoke, there's fire. We just don't know how big the fire is, but generally, when you start seeing a little bit of smoke, there's something going on. JJ Walker said, well, I'll tell you this, Kenyon, we ain't winning no Super Bowl anytime soon if we lose both of them. And that's a fact. Okay, so let me go back and see what J.J. Walker is saying. We can't lose both AB and Le'Veon. Listen, let me address that real quick. Do you guys not agree that if AB is really a locker room problem, you got to let it go? I feel what everybody's saying. Listen, I'm a fan just like y'all, man. I don't want to lose that AB production, but you have to think about your locker room, man. At the end of the day, listen, I work in corporate America. I see it all the time. Sometimes it just happened. Okay, at my job. I had a great person. But that person was just not... They had to let him go. Because it just wasn't a good fit internally. You can't do that. And I get it. It's your fanism, JJ, that's making you feel that way. I feel you. But if he is really a locker room cancer, you got to get rid of it while you can still get some value. Because let's be honest, a lot of people run to that argument, but I'll counter that argument. How long have we had AB and Le'Veon Bell? We still ain't won a Super Bowl. So you can't, and it's just my opinion. I'm not saying I'm right. Not saying you're right. Not saying you're wrong. But people can't throw that argument at me because we haven't won it yet with those guys. So to say, well, we ain't going to win one no time soon without either one of them, we ain't win nothing when they both was out there. I'm just saying. Debbie says, if the Steelers are not moving in the same direction, they will never win in number 7. There you go. Why Diggy says both Bell and AB were issues in the locker room. Sometimes it's an addition by subtraction. Very, very true facts right there. Roland Young says trade him a year too early instead of a year too late. Fully agree. Leonard, I'm about to wrap this up so I can come over there and help you out. He says, Greg Williams or Marvin Lewis for D coordinator. Man, if Greg Williams is, if he gets axed, and why not? At least we know we're gonna be aggressive. Why not? Mr. Green said, "Can we trade for Patrick Mahomes?" Right? Would that be a great future, man? And Tony knows how I feel about this. Kenyon probably remembers me saying this too. Man, I wanted Patrick Mahomes. I was hoping that teams were not going to view him as a number one, and he would be there in the third, possibly, and we could have got him in place of Dobbs. No disrespect to Dobbs, but y'all remember I talked about that kid, man. I saw his arm talent in college. His deep ball arm talent was amazing. Andy Reid saw something in him, man, and it paid off. That was a gamble. That was great analysis by their staff to say, nah, this kid is a number one, and then moved on from their current number one quarterback. Round of applause to them. All right, I'm going to wrap up with these last two comments. Jesse George says, I don't see them getting much out of AB. How old is he? Like 30? Or he will be at least 31 by next season, so he's not going to be worth that much. He's the best in the league or not. Hey, man, you might have a point there. The guy's 30 years old. You know, I think, you know what, I'm going to be honest, though. I think you might still be able to get a number one out of somebody. Somebody's always, there's a fool born, a fool is born every day. There's always going to be a team that feel like we got to go with the win now mentality, and Brown has a few more years left anyway. Somebody will bite, but you would make a good point there. All right, and the last comment of the night, hold on, well, two more comments. No, one more. Austin Pasquale says, it would be amazing to land a legit defensive back in the first round one of these years. Hopefully it's this year. We need someone that can make an impact now. Fully agree, man. SteelersDepot.com just did a quick little write-up on that kid from Washington, that kid Murphy. Woo! Look like a ball hawk. He looks like a ball hawk, and he's declared for the draft. So I would love to get something like that. But we need so much, man. We say it every year, but it really is going to come down to two things. Who do we, what position do we address in free agency? That's going to determine the number one pick. The number one pick, in my opinion, will be one of three positions: cornerback, outside linebacker, inside linebacker, which we have desperate needs at each one of those spots. Free agency will determine which way we go. I hope. Because remember I said that too last year, and we tried to fill those spots with Burnett and Bostic, and the middle linebacker of choice wasn't there. Leighton Vander Esch was probably going to be the pick. If not him, Rashaan Evans. Both of them got taken off of the board. Kevin Colbert told us that there really wasn't too many standout guys in inside linebacker, so they went with the other need and Terrell Edmonds, thinking they could utilize him in the box some, and that's how that dictated that. But I think that's really going to be the case this year, because all three of those positions, I don't think any of us could disagree as the number one pick. So there you go. So all right, man, I appreciate it, man. This was good. 38 minutes, a little bit over my time, man, but just trying to keep it short, relatively short. It's cool enough for me. So what you can count on is I'll be back again on Tuesday. Okay, what possibly will happen, especially this week, if there's any changes, major changes in the coaching staff, if Butler is canned or whatever, oh, you better believe there will be a pop-up stream happening in regards to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So outside of that, man, remember, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you do this. Hit that thumbs up, hit that like button, man. Do me a favor and show some love there. Share the stream, and there you have it. All right, so that's going to do it for this particular episode. Love you guys. Surprised I didn't get any callers requests, but I don't mind talking. If y'all don't want to talk, I'll always do it for you. All right, man, I'll catch you guys next week. Y'all be good, be safe. Let's see what happens in these playoff games. And, hey, we can sit back and enjoy them as football fans and not be so stressed watching our boys win or lose. So there you have it. Catch you guys next week. And thanks for tuning in to the latest episode of Terrible Towel Tuesday. Peace. I think it's still streaming. It looks like it's still streaming, guys. So y'all might be seeing this. For some reason, it won't stop the stream. So I'm going to try to disconnect it right now. So if y'all still seeing this, peace again. I'll at y'all later. Okay. My software is locked up. So I got to do it the old-fashioned way. Control-Alt-Delete. Task Master. Task Manager. And we're going to close it this way. So if you guys are still seeing this,